Hey guys, so this is my Doombringer Bone Spear build. I've been able to clear Uber Lilith as well as tier 100 Nightmare dungeons with this without dying at all. So far it's actually probably my favorite Bone Spear build I've made so far, so let's get right into it. For the helmet, we're going with Harlequin Crest. The 4 ranks that it gives you to your Bone Spear as well as other skills that we'll be using is really important. It's also just like the best helmet in the game, so you gotta really use it. For the chest plate, we're going to go all offensive affixes. So we're going to go all stats, intelligence, physical damage, and bone skill damage. And for the aspect, we're going to go with the Bone Storm damages an enemy, gain a barrier equal to 5% of your base life for 5 seconds. For the gloves, you're going to want the Serration aspect. And for the affixes, you're going to want critical strike chance, critical strike damage with bone skills, lucky hit chance, and 4 ranks to Bone Spear. The 4 ranks to Bone Spear are like the most, and the lucky hit chance are the most important, but these I think are the perfect affixes for your gloves. Like, I actually paid a lot of gold for these because they're just perfect in my opinion. I mean, they could have had a higher roll, but they're fine. For the pants, you're going to want Tibalt's Will for the combo with the vampiric power. You're gonna, every time you evade, you're gonna gain resource, so that's like super important. I'll get more into it when we go through the vampiric powers. For the boots, you can really use any aspect you want. I'm not super firm on this one, but I think the affixes are really good on this. The all stats, intelligence for your offensive, then movement speed, and 4 ranks to corpse tendrils, so that your corpse tendrils are just always ready. And of course, Doombringer. This is actually the reason why we're running so many offensive affixes on the rest of our gear, because we only have damage and core skill damage on this. So you really want to make up for the lacking damage affixes on this with the rest of your gear. But of course, it's really cool. You want to put a Flawless Emerald in there for the critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Then for the amulet, we got Grasping Veins as the aspect. We're running intelligence, damage, essence cost reduction, and 3 ranks of the Evulsion passive. You can trade out the damage or intelligence for maybe bone skill damage, but again, I want to max out the damage affixes for sure. Then we have Ring of Starless Skies, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, core skill damage, lucky hit chance. Like, it's like the perfect ring for this. And then of course the aspect is absolutely perfect. And for our second ring, we're going to go with the Splintering Loop. That's the Bone Spear aspect. And we're going to go with critical strike chance, critical strike damage with bone skills, and lucky hit chance. That's like, in my opinion, this is like the perfect ring. But I kind of opted out of using the new Malignant Heart ring because like I just need all these aspects, and I actually like having control of my corpses more so than having them just auto explode. I don't really like that, so I went with this instead. I like it better. Then of course we're gonna run the Lidless Wall. Really important for this build. Since we're not running an essence generator, we need this to use the lucky hit up to a 5% chance to restore primary resource. You mainly want a really good roll on the chance to restore primary resource, but you also want a pretty good roll on the aspect as well. So those are the 2 you mainly need to roll well on, but the rest of them don't really matter that much, but they do help. Okay, for the skill tree, we went 1 into Bone Splinters and 1 into Enhanced Bone Splinters. We went all into Bone Spear, down into Paranormal Bone Spear. We went all into Unliving Energy and all into Imperfectly Balanced. All into Hued Flesh. 1 into Grim Harvest, 3 into Fueled by Death. Then we went 3 into Death's Reach, 3 into Death's Embrace, and 3 into Amplified Damage. Then we did 3 into Corpse Tendrils, and then we got 8 from our boots, and then Shaco as well. And then we went into Plagued Corpse Tendrils. Then we went 3 into Serration, 3 into Compound Fracture, and then 3 into Evulsion with 3 from our Amulet. Then we got Standalone 3, Memento Mori 3, and then Inspiring Leader 3 for the attack speed. Bone Storm all the way, and Ossified Essence. These are the sacrifices: Skirmishers, Shadow, and Iron. Then the Paragon board, it's based on like what everybody's been using for the last like couple seasons, but I did change a couple things about it to spec more into Doombringer. So for the first board, you're gonna want Sacrificial. For your second Paragon board, you're gonna get Bone Graft. You're gonna grab all of this bone skill damage right here, all this essence. There's more bone skill damage up here. And then for your second glyph, you're gonna use Gravekeeper. Then for your third Paragon board, you're gonna use Scent of Death. And glyph, you're gonna go with Imbiber. You're gonna make sure to grab this Corrective rare node for the critical strike damage. There's a little armor over here, Intelligence, damage to injured enemies, and damage to healthy enemies and critical strike damage. So you're gonna wanna make sure to grab all of those. The fourth board is gonna be a Flesh Eater board. Glyph is gonna be Exploit. So you're gonna wanna make sure to grab all of this Dexterity because it'll give you vulnerable damage. You wanna get this Resistance to all elements, 10 Intelligence, targeted, damage to elites, 10 Intelligence. Of course, you're gonna get the Flesh Eater legendary node, and then you're also gonna get this Stifle for the critical strike damage, and you're gonna make sure to grab both of these magic nodes for the critical strike damage. And this is where we changed it up a little bit. Instead of using Bloodbath for the last Paragon board, we're gonna use Wither, and we're gonna make sure to grab this Malediction, 20% shadow damage and 10 intelligence, another 10% shadow damage if requirements are met, which is the willpower. The last glyph, we're gonna use Essence, so you're gonna make sure to get all this dexterity so that because it's all critical strike damage. So, and there's also 2 magic node dexterity, so you get even more critical strike damage. Then we're also gonna pick up Gloom right here, but don't worry about not having enough dexterity for the requirements to be met because it's just another 10% shadow resistance if requirements are met. Not like it's not very important, but you do want the 10 intelligence and the 10% shadow resistance at least, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Paragon board. So for the vampiric powers, the first one's gonna be Sanguine Brace. You get critical strike chance when you have more fortified than half of your maximum life, which we're all crit strike chance. We don't really spec into vulnerable damage much, but yeah, so we want as much crit strike chance as possible. Anticipation, your ultimate skills gain 20% cooldown reduction. This I've recently been playing with. I really like it because you always want to have Bone Storm active. You always want it. It's all your crit chance and as well as all of your survivability is in there. So this is actually a really good vampiric power for you right now. So I'd run this for sure. Prey on the Weak, extra vulnerable damage. Ravenous, this is probably my favorite one. The attack speed boost is absolutely insane. It just melted Uber Lilith, and it melts most bosses like just because of this. So then our last one's gonna be Metamorphoses. This is what we use to proc Archibalt's Will. So every time, this is like crucial for the build. You cannot substitute this one. This is what you're gonna use to regain your essence when your lucky hit chances didn't work out for you, and you were very unlucky with the lucky hit chance. This is what you're gonna end up using. But honestly, I don't really like ever super need it, but I do really like having the option to always regain essence. But anyways, yeah, that's about it for the build. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section. And I'll be back with the grandfather version in a couple days. I'll be posting some gameplay of that within the next couple days as well. So thank you, bye.